Welcome to Holistic Human Performance Podcast. My name is Gena Bradshaw, where we talk all things holistic health, wellness, spirituality, fitness, meditation, energetics, and so much more to help you become the healthiest version of yourself. Let's dive in. This is not medical advice. This is simply to help you on your journey through health, fitness, and wellness. I hope this helps. You can complement this with anything that you are doing currently in your life. Enjoy. What the holistic human performance community has turned into is something beyond words. I am so grateful for each and every single one of you. And I wanted to talk about what the community is all about. And really, it just started with me going through a really low time in life, where I did not have my health as a 2-time cancer survivor. And I really leaned into holistic health, that lifestyle, changing everything about it, really taking a deep dive into energy medicine and spirituality and combining all of these different aspects of mind, body, and soul together. That helped me heal on a deep level. And now I am following out my soul's mission and purpose and bringing this to you all. And so I want to invite you inside of the holistic human performance community. We have an app, which is the HHP app on Apple and Google Play, which you can also get all of these goodies on the desktop as well. And really what you're going to find inside of this community, I call it the Virtual Wellness Center. It's going to be all about holistic health, spirituality, energetics, all different practices, tools, modalities. So we have things like sound bath meditations, we have breath work, we have tapping series, we have workouts, we have somatic healing, we have masterclass series, we have programs. I have other professionals come on inside of the app to teach. So there's so many cool things you get inside of this community. And so I wanted to give this to you all as a membership. And what you're getting is a monthly membership where you have 300 plus on-demand videos, plus live stream classes and programs and courses. You're literally getting all of these incredible tools to take with you wherever, whenever you need. And so for $33 per month, you get access to this. Or you can do annual, which is $320 for the year. You're getting all of this inside of the Holistic Human Performance Virtual Wellness Center. And not only that, you could try it out for 1 week free and cancel whenever you want. So these are things that are going to help reprogram your subconscious mind, you regulate your nervous system, keep you healthy and navigating life with full life force energy, and really helping you to express yourself authentically while also enhancing your health and your well-being so that you can find and follow your soul's mission and purpose. So I invite you inside of this community. It is so beautiful and juicy. And not to mention, we have a whole section inside of the app where it is a community forum so we can chat with each other and talk about our wins, what we're going through, and so much more. And I don't know if I mentioned, if you are a one-on-one coaching client, you get full access to the entire Virtual Wellness Center membership. So I invite you inside of the HHP community. Again, you can get your week free trial on Apple or Google Play or right on your desktop at holistichumanperformance.co. Host Gena Bradshaw Vitale, and today we have a very special guest with us. We have Rachel McCord. She's a TV host and founder of the McCord List Media Network, a purpose-driven media platform reaching millions of households, a platform designed to amplify stories that shape culture and inspire change. Rachel is equipping a new generation of creators with the tools, production support, and national visibility they need to build shows that spark real impact. She's making sure no meaningful message gets left behind. And Rachel has a really fascinating story. Following her open heart surgery, her work and messaging has taken an even deeper meaning. And she speaks candidly about resilience, faith, purpose, navigating success, and what it looks like to build a value-driven life and career while operating in high visibility spaces like media and entertainment. And of course, we were just talking about motherhood and just like the wild ride that it is. So welcome, without further ado, to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here and so honored to chat with you and your community.
Oh, yes, of course. Okay. So, Rachel, I want to kind of talk about first how you even got into media, because I feel like it really, like, either, and especially being not even behind the camera, but like in front of the camera, that takes a lot. So, kind of what got you into media in the first place?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I almost stumbled into it, to be honest with you. My family is in the entertainment industry. My sister is an actress. And I just always felt that is not for me. I cannot memorize lines as an actor. You know, I never really felt comfortable when paparazzi would stalk our house or like capture us like arriving or leaving somewhere. It was just really like anxiety ridden, to be honest with you, and I just felt uncomfortable with that. And then it just kind of felt like God continued to push for me to do that and just continue to like make that happen, to be honest with you. And doors started opening and things started happening, and I just realized that I was going to make a pivot. I had worked in corporate America. I had started working in the restaurant industry when I was 13 years old, and just did everything I could to learn about really creating structure and standard operating procedures and really just how does business work? I was very fascinated with business. As a kid who grew up with trauma in trailer parks, like I was not most likely to succeed at really anything, to be honest. And what happened was my sister was she had just done Nip Tuck and Transformers, and then or Transporter, and then she came to Hollywood to be on 90210, and her name was everywhere, her face was everywhere, and she was just hitting like a pretty high rise as a celeb. But we were all homeschooled as kids, and my sister was like pretty introverted, to be honest. So she was really anxious and overwhelmed with this life that she had dreamed of since we were little kids. And what we were trying to do was like, hey, like, how do we support you and how do we help you? So she asked my oldest sister and I to come out to LA and support her. I became her assistant, which was very eventful and, you know, just such a gear shift. But I learned so much about the industry and I worked really hard. I really wanted to help her and make things easy. And my sister, I'm the youngest, and my sister and I are like 16 months apart, and we kind of have twin brains. Yeah. So I think in those ways it really helps me being her assistant because I could almost read her mind and know what she needed. So I cut my teeth on the industry in that job. It was tough. I worked with publicists and agents and managers, started hosting events. And that was when I realized I loved hosting events. So I started a company literally trying to get away from the entertainment industry. Yeah. I never wanted anyone to know who my sister was. I kind of just shied away from the Nepo baby vibes. I was literally like, I'm going to build something on my own that fits me. So I started an events company and grew it. We became one of the top 3 in Las Vegas, actually, which is a pretty competitive market for events and concierge services, which is what we offered. And then my partner bought me out. I literally was like, I can't do this anymore. This is not for me. So I was able to kind of sell that piece of the company at 24. And that's when I started McCord List. And so the McCord List was the beginning of me moving with intentionality and purpose versus simply just moving to what made sense. My whole career up until that point had been like, oh, there's an opportunity. Let me go to the next one. Let me just do the next thing that makes sense. And the McCord List was the beginning of me being empowered to help other people with what they're doing and help them feel inspired in all the things.
That's awesome. Wow. Isn't it crazy how like life just takes you for this wild ride. She agrees. And and for those of you who don't know, as usual, my daughter's joining us. Um, but isn't it crazy how like all these breadcrumbs just happen and then it like brought you to this point of what you do today? I think it's so cool to be able to recognize that and be able to help people on the other side.
1000%. You know, looking back at my story, it's kind of wild how God was directing my footsteps even before I was really predominantly faith in my day-to-day life. I was kind of one of those girls who I believed in God. I'm like, I know you're real because creation lends itself to a creator story. But I was just not really in a space. I was kind of living a selfish, like human life, to be honest, and
Yeah.
just doing the things. So it was interesting when I look back and I'm like, wow, of course you opened this door. Of course this happened. All these things that I didn't foresee, I didn't have the vision for or the concept. I was like, oh, okay, this all makes sense. And, you know, for me with the McCord list, I make jokes that we're like on like 70.0 because throughout these many years of running a company over a decade, I've seen myself be like, wow, there's all these wild seasons of building something and saying like, wow, what am I really marching towards? What's really impactful? And so in the beginning of the McCord list, we started hosting events, which is obviously something I knew and understood. And we started really kind of the first on the market to do a lot of influencer events.
Yeah.
People like my sister come from what we call traditional Hollywood, right? Like actors, actresses, prior to social media, the only access you had to them was what was in the weeklies, right? If they were photographed going out here and there, you were able to see them and that's how you stayed connected. Now with social media, it completely transformed, right? So we were kind of at the beginning of social media becoming such a big point in media, in fan connection to celebs. And I've always been the kind of girl to just want to connect with my community. So I would invite all of these creators, influencers, and celebrities to come to monthly photo shoots or go on a road trip to Coachella and stop and do photo shoots along the way. And everything was centered around creating cool content and then helping brands promote themselves. But the core essence and the heartbeat of the McCord list has always been empowerment. It's always been a message, much like your brand of like, hey, let's build authentically. Let's be real. Let's help one another. Let's be community oriented, collaborative oriented versus competition. And I'm from Georgia. So I'm just like a sweet tea, come in my house, have happy pie kind of girl. And so being that way in California, which is actually pretty unique and different,
Right.
really built these lasting friendships with people who have found themselves pretty alone in a pretty tough industry where you're constantly told no and doors are slammed in your face. And I think, quite frankly, I was just too much of a type AAA, which is what my husband called me. Like, there's a type A personality and then there's a type AAA. And I'm like, well, stop. But I think there was a part of me that was like, I don't want to be running to castings and auditions and try to get my name out there. I'd rather just build a production and do that. So the McCord list started doing that. And then a year ago, I had really had this life transformative event. You already kind of hinted to it a little bit. So 2 years ago, I was at the top of my game when it comes to television, all the things. I had booked a show for Bloomberg Television. I filmed it at Female Founders. I was the executive producer. I was booking all of our celebs and all of our guests because I have been running education and innovation at the largest fashion trade show in the world, which is called Magic. They're in all these major cities from New York to Vegas to Nashville. We have celebrities like Katy Perry, Bali, so many people, the D'Amelio sisters, they come out and they launch their fashion brands. And so I would moderate the shows. I would host webinars and teach kind of the retailers how to connect in the ever-changing market of fashion industry.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And so I was doing that, and then I got Female Founders. So I was like, oh, this is fun. This makes perfect sense. I'm in New York City. I'm told I'm going to be on this massive Jumbotron. I'm like, this is crazy. So for the girl who had grown up in trailer parks and never felt worthy of love and was working so hard to climb that ladder trying to earn love, it felt like that opportunity for me to be like, oh, I did it. Yay. And then 6 months later, I found out I needed to undergo open heart surgery.
Man, that's some heavy stuff right there.
Yeah.
How did you find that out? What happened?
So I had been struggling for many years. Actually, we had kind of been on the search for about 8 years to figure out what was wrong. I
Wow.
had been struggling with passing out. We almost diverted an airplane one time. I didn't know at the time that in the elevation, I've been having oxygen issues,
Hmm.
being able to sustain like a healthy level of oxygen.
Hmm.
And so I'm passing out while giving birth to my son. I'm having these
Wow.
wild situations where I'm so short of breath, I can't walk up one flight of stairs. It was just one thing after another. And it was scary, but it was also the least of my priorities because I was a new mom at the
Right.
point of really kind of coming to a head. And so it wasn't until my son was 3 years old that I actually figured out what was going on. I went to a new cardiologist who was taking it seriously, what I was telling him and what I was dealing with. And we even had my husband come in on some of my appointments with UCLA, and he would be like, she's not being dramatic. Because unfortunately, there is a little bit of a stigma for women in mental health, and not mental health, but heart health, that we're just being anxious. We're feeling XYZ and it's not real. And so we done the EKGs, and in the office, they knew I had a pretty intense heart murmur that you could hear, like just with my husband's head on my chest, he could hear a
Oh,
loud.
wow. That's
So
significant.
it was significant, and it was increasingly getting worse. And then I ended up going to a new doctor, and I explained all my symptoms. I had written everything out, which I recommend to everybody. If you're ever dealing with health stuff, I don't know about you, but the moment you get in the doctor's office, you get nervous, you feel all the feels, you can kind of
Yeah.
forget everything you want to say. So
Yeah.
my only chance was to have it in a piece of paper, not even on my phone, where I was like, okay, hold on, doctor. I was like, this is what I'm dealing with. And he glanced at it for a few minutes, and he's like, you might need heart surgery. And it was the first
Wow.
time I really heard that. And I was like, whoa, okay. So he listens to me on a stethoscope, and he pulls his head back, raises his eyebrow, and says, that is not mild. Because some of my reports from other doctors was mild to moderate mitral valve regurgitation, which is basically where your valve has a defect in your heart. And so instead of the oxygenated blood going where it needs to go, which is your brain, which is why I would be passing out almost one time on a highway going 80 miles an hour, which was super fun. Like, if you're not getting oxygen to your brain, your body will put you blacked out. And I would wake up sometimes on the floor of my husband screaming my name, and I'd be blue because I had just blacked out. Just crazy stuff going on. So we knew something that was up, but we couldn't figure out exactly what it was. He ended up ordering what's called a TEE, which is like an internal scope that goes down your esophagus and looks at your heart from a different angle.
Hmm.
And it was in that test that he saw how severe it was, because in the traditional ultrasounds, which is what I kept doing every 6 to 12 months, they would see the regurgitation, but it was like going around like a jet, so you couldn't see how severe it was. So
Right.
everything changed. I had been climbing, and then now I was like, whoa, life became very real. And the purpose of it all, and the why, and what was I leaving behind if I didn't survive this surgery that 1 in 5 people don't survive. It was just very scary as a mom, as a wife, and as an entrepreneur, as a human being. It was just scary.
And so, with all of this going on, right? Now, my question to you is like, when you were struggling with this for 8 years, had you, and you said you're like type triple A, had you noticed, like, aside from the fainting and passing out, had you noticed yourself these health, or these signs and symptoms that were going on, or you just kind of like put it back to the wayside and you're like, I have things to do, like I'm not gonna deal with any of this right now? Was that something that you found yourself doing?
Yeah, I think that was probably the biggest problem, was that I was really focused on my family and being able to get back to work after having our child. So I wasn't really being that mindful of myself or how I needed to do everything or what was important and what was timely. Honestly, I just put it in the back burner because, when I
Yeah.
had a minute or an hour to myself, I was working instead of taking that hour and scheduling an appointment. And, it's like your roots grow out, your nails look heinous, like you just don't take care of yourself at the same level. You're like the soul. was provider for this little human. Even, my husband's very involved, but, a mom is a mom. And, at the end of the day, we bring life, we feed them, we do all the things. And so I was just not prioritizing myself at all. And I don't have any regrets about that, to be honest. I know it sounds kind of crazy when you think about like, oh my goodness, like you probably could have handled this so much sooner. But I think for me, God's timing is so powerful because emotionally and spiritually, I was not ready for the surgery until I had the surgery.
Right.
Because there's a level in my heart where I had to be thinking, I'm between a rock and a hard place. I've got doctors telling me that if I don't get this surgery, I might face heart failure. And then I've got risks with going under the, for me, robotic knife. So what do you do in a situation like that? You fight and you do what you can to live longer for your kid and for your family and for what matters. But I think everything came down pretty powerfully to 2 weeks. Once they decided that I needed to have open heart surgery, there's this test you have to do to make sure it's safe for you. Right. So basically they scan the size of your heart, and then 2 weeks later they scan it again to make sure it's not growing, because if it's becoming enlarged, it's actually very unsafe to go under heart surgery. So this is what I was told. So those 2 weeks were really wild, because here I am waiting to find out if I'm able to do this surgery at all. And I have the date set, everything is ready. We're marching ahead unless we get word of something different. And I just remember sitting in rooms with friends and just becoming very aware of all the heartbeats in the room and just the significance of how much of this life we live, and we're so unaware of what's been given to us, who's giving it to us, and how we have this living breath in our lungs. And every time we breathe, we're literally saying, Yahweh. We're saying Yahweh. We're speaking to the creator of the heavens and earth who created us, and all the generations, all the times, all the eras chose this moment, this conversation, the people who are going to hear this. None of it's by accident. In fact, I'm a firm believer, as a girl who started the McCord List, scared and insecure, and had my husband challenge me as a female founder and say, if you could help 5 people who are in the bottom of their closet, like you have been so many times, facing major depression, facing PTSD and anxiety, if you could help those 5 people with a message of impact, would those 5 humans be worth it? And my mind was blown, because here I was thinking so much about myself and my limitations. And, I can't do this. No one cares. There's a million voices. There's a million things. Who needs another voice? And I was like, wow, if my whole life's work comes to 5 humans who end up finding eternal life, who end up finding peace, finding comfort, finding healing from trauma. I had read over 1,000 self-help books, but I had one Yeshua encounter. I like calling Jesus his
yeah. I got you. I got you.
But one encounter changed everything for me. But it was really weird at the same time, because here I am in this very mainstream career, right? I'm in entertainment, I'm working in Hollywood, I'm living in Hollywood. So it's incongruent with this holistic transformation that's happening on the inside. I'm having spiritual awakenings. I'm starting to hear things and sense and know things. And I'm literally like, how do I reconcile this in my normal AAA personality? And I feel like the heart surgery was almost like the end of the road for me. The girl who woke up that day and thought, wow, I survived, as my first conscious thought, and then said thank you to Adonai, and then said, get this out of my throat. That girl is not the same girl who even went in there worshiping her way through the OR. Because I was scared, but I was not willing to be afraid. Right. Because in that season, God taught me something that I've actually shared in a book I'm releasing this year. It's called You Can't Heal Your Life, But I Know a Guy.
I love that.
Because after reading 1,000 self-help books and chasing after everything and their mama, every yoga treatment, everything that I could possibly get my fingers, heart, soul, and time on to heal the brokenness in my heart from years of trauma. And the existing and the continuing effects of what abuse does to a person's heart and to their mind and to their nervous system. I was chasing healing like people, like it was going out of style, And I found myself in Israel a year, like I want to say 5 weeks before I had this wild Yeshua encounter. And I was laying my body on the marble where they had laid his body after he died. And I was like,
Ow.
God, heal my heart. Like I was begging him to heal my heart. 5 weeks later, I had this total out of body experience that I cannot explain without sounding a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And then, and then like 6 months later, another time. But what was happening was God was revealing things and helping me forgive. And I believe that forgiveness and that creates bitterness is typically the thorn in most of our hearts that keeps us numb, keeps us distant from our Creator. And in that expression, the challenging thing is that we don't have these spiritual awakenings until we have an open heart. Like we actually have to open up our hearts. And so most people who I talk to who are very like, Rachel, you sound kind of crazy, but I can tell something's different because I knew you before and I know you now. And I know there's something you're saying that's true. I just can't put my finger on it. I literally say to them, okay, well, just go out on a crazy limb with me for 2 seconds and just pray, God, if you're real, make it abundantly clear. Make it clear to me. And what's interesting is that whole journey of my experience, my encounter, and then the years after that, it was about 3 years before I had the surgery. So I was having these unbelievable downloads. I didn't know how to bring it into my public life because I was kind of afraid, to be honest.
And you're integrating. It's like an integration process. You have to like sit with it before you even can like bring it. I feel you. I know what you're saying. I get you.
Yes, you totally get. I've never heard someone say it so well, but that's exactly what was happening. That's exactly what I was experiencing. And then when I had the surgery, it was literally like the wall. It was like the end of that road. And then it was very public. Like the surgery was documented in Daily Mail, not like the process of it, but what I was going through. And I did an interview with them. And so it was really interesting because there was a point where I was like, wow, if I don't survive this, like that's going to be kind of awkward. Like, there's no part 2 to this interview, you know? You kind of get a little bit silly, I think, necessarily to process the wildness that you're facing. But I was so determined to stand on the ground that God had ordained and prepared for me in the years since that encounter when it came to the fear. So when I literally sat down, I felt very led this past year to write this book. And I was like, it's so interesting because the first book I ever wrote was literally about breaking into social media and entertainment without it breaking you. But it was so hilariously called Slay the Fame Game, okay? So you gotta understand that, like, I released that. I have this whole brand. I was a swimsuit model. Like, I mean, it's like, do not Google me. Like, you will find weird stuff. Like, that was so weird, right? And then fast forward to the girl who read all the self-help books and says, look, self-help is helpful, right? It's helpful at times possibly to take a walk when you're anxious or stressed or angry and, all these little practical things that maybe you didn't learn in your upbringing that I didn't learn that were very helpful for me. It was helpful at times, but it wasn't healful. I found myself consistently going back to the same brokenness. And I think the worst thing we can do for a world that is broken is give them the wrong medication. So if I tell you all day and night that you need to go all day and it doesn't actually fix the problem, what happens is you drop lower. Because I know from experience, your hope rises. And then you're like, wow, another failed this, another failed relationship, another argument when I thought we had done something different. Right? You start to just let this like hopelessness settle in. And it just became abundantly aware as a girl who was, everything was on the line with my life. And the only one who could actually hold me was the one who was going to decide whether or not my heart would return to beating again. It's like, what are we doing? Like, why am I talking about anything else that maybe helps you for 10 minutes? But I want to see your lives transformed. I want to see you go back to work as an entrepreneur with faith and see how that changes everything. See how that changes things when you feel led to, like I just did recently, open a new studio in a major studio lot where they did Iron Man and Star Wars and all these cool things. And it's so scary for the girl who grew up with literally nothing and was hungry going to bed most nights. Like, it was scary to take those risks. But if you go all in with the one who can see tomorrow when you can't, no matter how much news you bog yourself down with, no matter how many people you talk to and all the things, we just don't know what tomorrow holds, right? But I know who holds tomorrow, and that's the one I'm going to when I'm making decisions as a mom, as a wife, as an entrepreneur, as a human being, as a friend. The person who, stands up to you at a grocery store and you're like, maybe that person needs prayer. I've been the weird girl in airports who just prays for somebody, but you never know where they're at in their life. And statistics would say that 1 in 3 people are struggling with major depression and suicidal ideations. And today it's scarier than ever for many people. And I just believe that if we live in the economy of this world and we're connected to almost like this era, right? Because God talks about an old era and the coming era. When we stay connected to this human era, this place where how much money you make matters, the logo on your car matters, the logo on your purse and a tag on your dress that nobody even sees, all these things matter so much. And we put all this pressure in. It's like, what are we doing with our heartbeats? Like, are we being a good steward of loving the person God put in your life? Are we loving our spouses? Are we loving and caring for our kids? Are we prioritizing them over the addictions and the beauty and the excitement of this era? Like, this one-dimensional life that we live in is genuinely a shadow of what's actually awaiting us. So we have to decide into where we want to put our heartbeat. And, for me, it was like taking this book was like my whole life's work. I feel like of being like, you saw me when I was talking about slaying the pain game, and now I'm going to show you like what's really happening. And it's come down for me in 3 things. Number 1, I feel like the most important thing you can do is to just get real. If there's a part of your life or a series of parts that are challenging you or hurting you or frustrating, let's get real. Like, honestly, let's look at the things that we can take responsibility for. My favorite thing to do is find a problem that I caused, because that's a problem I feel like I can fix. I still have that type AAA deep down. You know what I mean? I'm like all prayer and rainbows, but like I still want to like hammer a nail. So give me a nail that's mine that I can actually hammer instead of one I don't have control over. So get real. Be authentically true to what is happening in your life. Are you happy with how you're communicating with the people around you? If not, what does it take to change it? Does it take some accountability? There's a scripture verse that says, don't take anything personal. Wow, I'm failing at that every single day. But every day I try to be a little bit better at it, because when you fill your mind with scripture that has been around long, long before, all of these new fads and new concepts that burn out as quickly as they come up. When you fill your mind with wisdom, your life shows the fruit of that. And so you have to get real. The second thing is you've got to starve fear and you got to feed faith. And I think it's the truest message for every entrepreneur, every human being out there. It's like, you have to starve fear, because life will give you.
What would you say would be like, what were some of the ways that you did that, where you starved fear in order to feed faith? Because a lot of people are going through that, and it's like, okay, well, how do I do that? So like, what are some things that you did to starve the fear and feed the faith?
Great. That's an epic question. So for me personally, I'm just going to go for the jugular on the 2 things that probably scare people the most, or maybe the 3 things.
Hey,
right?
Let's go.
Number 1 is health, right? Health is a big fear. Finances, and then your family, right? These are the 3 things that can really grab you by the gut and you feel like your life is falling apart. So I firmly believe that one cannot truly starve fear and faith if you do not embrace the Prince of Peace, and that is God. I don't think that what I could give you tons of tips and all these things, but if any of them are outside of drawing close to the one who is the inventor of peace, you will not feel peace. You will find a little moment, you'll go to a coffee shop and write in a journal, and that's sweet and that's great, but it will not change the game. You've got to get on your knees, literally, figuratively, literally, get on your knees and cry out to the one who created you. And even if you don't have that faith right now, that's what that prayer is for earlier, right? Like, ask God to activate it. Be like, God, if you're real, I don't even know if you're real. I heard this wild lady on this podcast conversation talking about you, like, obsessively. Like, I thought this was going to be one conversation, and she's like, took it a different way, right? Like, so like, are you real or not? Like, first of all, start the dialogue. Open up your heart. Because the thing is that there's a reason why, if you read through scripture, and I just led a group through the Bible reading cover to cover in 90 days. There's a reason why The stuff that's promised has come to fruition and is happening now. And there is a reason. This stuff is real. There is a reason why every single verse in the Bible is fulfilled from Old Testament to New Testament. And not one stroke of the pen will not be fulfilled. So if someone told me, here's a book, and it's going to tell you about yourself, it's going to tell you about your life, it's going to tell you that you are a masterpiece, where you feel like a failure and you feel the pressure to hold it all together and to make all the money and to provide for your family and all this pressure that's daunting, and tomorrow this new thing comes on the market and there's AI, and what does that mean for me and my family? In a world of a million voices, here is the book you need to read that will change your life. Wouldn't you do that? And that's what I'm saying, because it's true. It's literally the truth. The Bible is the truth. And when you put your life on something that's true, you don't fall apart. So going back to those three things, your health, your family, right? Your finances, like, you do not want to go and put your faith. You don't want to start fear and put your faith in the wrong thing, because it will fail you. When you're falling off a cliff, you don't want to grab onto the rope that's going to snap or the one that's not rooted. The only rope that I would ever send anyone to in my right logical mind is to God. It's the only one. So that's how you do it. You worship. The scripture says God inhabits the praises of his people. So if you're just starting out and you're kind of like, I don't even know what you're talking about, and you pray that prayer like, God, are you real? The next thing, put on some Brandon Lake. Put on some beautiful Bethel music. Put on some Hillsong. Let your heart be open. Hear the words of songs that for some of us, including myself, this is oxygen. I need this more than I need anything else. Every time I go after, like I do an interview like this, and I'm just directly sharing my heart and sharing what I've learned and what I've experienced, every single time I get hit with adversity, because I'm a spiritual human. I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. And most people don't realize that that's what's happening. They don't know that's why they're anxious. They don't realize that there's actually, just as much as there's beauty and there's God in everything, there's darkness in this world. And so if you're not caring for the spiritual vessel that you are, you burn out. You are plagued with it. So I literally say, turn your worry into worship, because I know he inhabits the praises of his people. God, scripture says that God created the heavens and the earth with words. When he said, let there be, it became. So for the sheer fact that God said that he would inhabit the praises of his people means that the word is already done. So it's already fulfilled. So think about that. It's not a promise. It's an action. When God speaks, it's an action. So when you understand that, and you're like on a rolling bed and they're about to take you in an OR and stop your heart, and you're FaceTiming your little guy and you're saying, buddy, mommy's being brave. I love you. I'll see you on the other side. And you're speaking into this human being. I know in that moment, I knew how to feel peace in an unbelievable, painful situation. It was because I knew that Romans 8:28 says God works all things together for good for those who love him and are called according to his purpose. My son, my husband, they love God. They're called according to his purpose. And we have that invitation to stand on that and to know that God's looking out for this little 3-year-old little guy. So if my time here with him on this planet is over and I have to wait until eternity to see him, I know that he's going to be okay. And for me, that's what silences fear. And the last piece of the book is all about doing what you're here for. And I don't think that you can do that if you don't starve fear. Because when you start doing what you're here for, what you were created for in this era, in this time frame, in this moment, like, you will face adversity that is like, what just happened? Like, you will face all the things. It's scary. It's hard. You're going all in all the time. As an entrepreneur, you don't know when your next check is coming oftentimes, and you have all these mounting pressures. Mm-hmm. You know what you're here for? There's something so special about it, because it's almost like bringing efficiency to every heartbeat. And as a type AAA, I love efficiency. I'm all about it.
Listen, it's part of your blueprint, so you needed it to get where you are today. So we honor that.
We honor it.
I completely agree with you. I am a firm believer that purpose and health are directly correlated. And when you're not on the path of what your soul came here to do, and I do believe divine timing and everything happens in perfect timing as well.
I believe my daughter agrees also.
She's so beautiful, by the
Right?
way. Yeah.
Do you want to talk too?
Hi, little love.
I believe that. Hey, hi. Um, and I know it to be true for myself. I'm a two-time cancer survivor, and when I wasn't on the path of what I'm doing today and what my soul came here to do, I felt very unfulfilled. I had lots of anxiety. I was living in just sheer survival mode. And then finally when I woke up and I had this like aha moment, I was like, "Oh, okay." And you just have to go with what God, creator, source has in store for you. You just gotta roll with it and just like you said, you're getting that's heavy where you're rolling out into the OR room, you know, you're FaceTiming your child and you have to have faith because you know that whatever's meant to be will be at the end of the day. Yeah, right? Right? I know.
She's so precious. It's so true. And I just applaud you on your journey and how you've done such a phenomenal job of healing from this and then creating such purpose and helping so many people find their way. Because I think that's the difference in being an adder in life and being a multiplier. Like if you can multiply someone's story, you can multiply their future. It's a huge game changer. And I feel like so many of us right now, we need it now more than ever. And there's such a heartbeat to that type of work, right? Like you feel, you know, when you're just breathing fresh air and you never know where someone's at. I always say, you never know what it costs someone to be here. Like, what did it cost them to get out of bed? Because I know the days when it cost everything to get out of bed. And I feel like there's so much in our hearts that we need to find. We need to be able to like open up and just be real. And it can be quite challenging, right? Like you can find yourself in these seasons of life, like, what am I doing? But then when you look back, like you said earlier, at your story, and you're like, oh, I get it. This is why everything had to be just as it is.
And there's always a why. I always, like you said, when you're going through those moments of like, what is even going on? I have no idea what I'm doing. Life is super challenging. I always have to kind of like reframe myself and be like, no, like I'm here for a reason. I survived this for a reason and I got to lean into that. And, you know, it brings me so much solace to think of that because you know there are other people who didn't survive that and I did and so did you and there's a reason that we must share our voices, which I think is a huge gift to have the voice and something that you do obviously in media and being so visible. A lot of people get so scared to share their stories with the world. Are there any like words of wisdom you would share with entrepreneurs or those who really want to get visible but they're so scared to get visible? Any words of wisdom and advice you would have for those people and those listeners?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I get it. I see you. I get it. I feel it. I remember the first studio I ever created. I was one of the first creators for Amazon Live. And I was a part of their program where they were doing incubating kind of these creators to do live selling. And I created a studio. I started booking a bunch of talent, but I was the flagship show. So I was starting to film. And I had everything set up technically, right? Like I had the camera, I had the system, I learned how to stream, I had done all the things. And I was so insecure and so nervous. And then I met this couple and they said to me, hey, like, you know, we actually, you know, have a history in production. Do you want us to swing by and just check out the studio and get some feedback? And I said, yes. And so they come there and they check everything. And I'm like, is this okay? What about the background? Is it stupid? Like, should I change? You know, it's like all these things. And the guy looked at me and he's like, after he's checked everything, he's like, Rachel, you're fully ready to film. You need to shut up and shoot. And so that has been the advice I've given to myself time and time again. I give it to all of my show hosts. And, you know, we develop shows a little bit uniquely. So we're situated in Hollywood and we work with incredible producers from Yellowstone. We worked on Clueless. We worked on Show and all the things. And yet at the same time, we work with people who are not traditionally Hollywood. They are entrepreneurs, they're authors, they're coaches, they're people who have a message of hope and inspiration, transformation to get out into the world. And we see that by empowering them, effectively producing, guiding, supporting them, then literally filming everything in our studio where we are on this incredible lot and we have an LED screen so we can switch everything out so fast. It's so fun. And then we edit everything and we distribute it on Roku, Samsung, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. So we're getting their content out into the world. And then we're taking those shows, and what I think is probably part of the most important part is we're clipping it down for social media so that then to their audience, to their sales community, they're actually showing the world the visibility that they deserve. They're showing themselves as this expert who they are. And they're literally here saying, hey, let me help you get out. Let me help this message get out. Let me help you see this incredible message. And so we have therapists, psychologists, we have incredible authors, people sharing messages of hope in the world. And so we're helping them really grow. And so a lot of them, they just need to be encouraged to shut up and shoot. Just do the thing. Like I always say, like, don't try to overwhelm yourself and inundate yourself with every trend that's like running all over the place. Just do the thing that you're here for. Be able to say, okay, this is what I can do, and I'm going to do this consistently. You know, maybe that means that one day you batch a bunch of content so that you can post it, right? Yep. Maybe it's hitting up our team at the McCord List. Let's talk. Let's see if there's something we can do to help you. We work with people all over the country. A lot of people fly to our studio because it's just easier to plug and play. But some people will go to local studios and then they'll send us the footage and we'll edit and we'll syndicate it and we'll help them. I think that most important thing is that you're very clear about your why. Because if you're clear about your why, it doesn't become about you and the pressure you feel. Like I get nervous, but then I kind of stopped getting nervous because I started being like, oh my goodness, I'm making this about Rachel. It's not about Rachel. It's about me showing up in front of a person on my couch and hearing their story, sharing their story with the world, and then letting that message be a message of hope that actually inspires people to go for it, to do something more than they thought possible.
Absolutely love that. Thank you so much. We could literally chat for hours. This was so awesome talking with you. You have so much knowledge and just experience to share with the world. And, you know, even though you've gone through adversity, you came out on the other side so much stronger. And like you said, a different person. And like your friend said that as well, a different person. And I think that's so special. And, you know, for those listening out there, even if you are going through challenging times, just know that there's always light at the end of the tunnel, and there's always a season, there's always a reason, there's always a lesson, and really tap into your gifts. Tap into what your soul came here to do, because what Rachel does, that is like her soul, her gifts, only she has that. What I do, I have my soul gifts, this is what I'm here to do, and for you listening, you have your gifts. You just have to listen and you have to surrender, get out of your own way, and toss it up to God.
Yes. Wow. Thank you so much for having me on your show. It's amazing. I love what you're doing, and you're such an inspiration to so many. And I love this little machine. So if you ever need a West Coast babysitter, I got you.
Excellent. Thank you. Yes, say bye. Say thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for being on the show.
That little smile. Oh my gosh, I'm giving mommy back now. I know you're ready for her fully.
Rachel, where can everybody find you?
So everything is on rachelmccord.com. That's probably the easiest way to go. And you can find access to the McCord List, social media, and all the things. But just rachelmccord.com.
Beautiful. Thank you so, so much for coming on and sharing. And guys, I'll put all of Rachel's information in the description box. And as always, we'll see you in the next one. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.